Content. All right. Almost ready to go here. Uh, I've been I've noticed a weird sort of catch in my brain trying to jump between different things in chess. I let me just make sure this is catching. Yep. Um, so one of the separations I need to make is sort of separating winning and losing from learning and getting better, as well as separating out any concern for like an arbitrary number representation, like ratings, from anything meaningful, and not getting caught up on them. uh, but it's hard for me just to, you know, avoid that. So I'll mess around on Lichess in like 3+2 and 2+1 time controls to mess around and try different openings and things. But then that's fun at first, and then I start caring about that for some reason. um, when ultimately none of it should really matter. I should feel free to play whatever on the longer games. But for some reason, I haven't been able to get my head past that. Something I'm hoping to help. So I did pick up a book to try and work through anxiety. Went a little bit into it. It's just sort of starting off on the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy and just descriptions and stuff. So nothing too enlightening so far, but I gotta get a lot further into it to see what recommendations it might make. But it is good to keep in mind that sort of automatic thoughts and things really do affect your feelings. So to try and reinforce more positive thinking consciously to rebuild the unconscious side of things uh, can be valuable. I'm just here review my openings. Let me look at so sort of on the opposite end here of the Benoni. My take right away. Let's see, 3, then you take back. It takes D. Chaos is wrought in that scenario. Ran into that. Didn't really, ran into a game that came out like this, and I sort of play, the usual there. So actually played knight d2. I was that, but it was clumsy, so I was just looking at how that looks. I have been in those aforementioned, faster time games, been trying to take a bit of a look at the Najdorf. So A6 ends up defining is when it becomes the Najdorf. Otherwise, you just have the Sicilian open. That playing A6 makes it the Najdorf. Just so you don't end up with this having to deal with that, just preempting it. Also preempting, along with that, the intrusion of the bishop. Oops. Man, I don't like something on chess.com occasionally just doesn't want to let me draw arrows. But one of the problems I run into is I'll feel comfortable, and it's one of the challenges and one of the, when you're learning, people always say, all it's actually really frustrating if you ask for help in chess. The only answer you'll get is tactics. They'll just say learn tactics, and that's just not useful as an answer. Um, it's true in a base sense that if you are fantastic at tactics, you'll win a lot. But that's not really a great idea just to say do nothing but solve puzzles and get better. You should have fun. You should enjoy the game and do what you like. Uh, I find different openings interesting and entertaining, even though you actually see me play a lot of the similar openings. I like all the the details, but one of the trappings you can get into is you don't want to just memorize the different moves and lines because they don't end up playing out like that, and you need to be able to adapt and understand how one position is different than another. And this doesn't want me to draw arrows. Um, so here you're usually looking at bishop b2, bishop e3, or bishop g5. Um, as you can actually see here on the most common um, options. But what I end up seeing a lot here is bishop c4, Lipnitsky attack. Um, and what ends up coming out of that is you see this a lot as well. I'm playing bishop e7, but weirdly, they've just been taking the knight a lot of the times, which is weird, but that's just the lower level games. But the problem there is allowing b5 is sort of a tempo gainer, an expansion here on the queen side. Let's do some puzzles. So let me get up in the puzzle board. Again, gonna do the learning ones just so I can talk through everything I'm looking at. So again, captures and checks. So there's a check here, right? There's a capture here. In both cases, checking doesn't allow the obvious to take. Capture is defended. So those don't work. We've got a check here. So what can we do with that? Well, the king can move over. And then I have no more checks. So that doesn't look correct. That pawn's defended. Nothing else, anything can capture. So this is a little tricky. The obvious first looks don't yield an obvious answer unless I missed something that should be obvious. I could maybe win a pawn. No, that's defended too many times. I missed the knight at first. Hmm. I look at things as I describe it. It's hard to. Um, a lot of these things are really quickly looked at, so I have to slow it down to make sure I'm explaining what I look at. A lot of the things I look at are obviously wrong, but their first glance is right. So I look at, well, what if I capture the knight because it will open up this file? Well, nothing. But if there were a bishop here, then that would be good. Um, check, move, bishop is hard to defend. one of the difficulties with these puzzles is I don't know what the rating is, so I don't know how difficult of a problem I'm supposed to be looking for. If it's rated like 1,000, then I'm missing something much more obvious. If it's rated like 2,200, then it's probably more subtle. Um, so I think it's this, and I'm wrong. So what else could it be? I guess you could go the other route, like that, but that seems crazy. Well, I guess you end up in the same position either way. So it is the check, but it's not that. So that's why this wasn't correct. Is that follow up just doesn't work? Oh, I can go here and I'm pinning the rook. But then you could bring the rook across. Oh, now I open up the file. This is one thing I find happens with my head is I'll see the concepts and then I won't put them together. Um, so I can take this now because, mate, that's fine. If I go back, as mentioned, oh, I can take this, opens up this file, and if there were a bishop here, it would be great. Well, if there was a bishop here and the king here, then that suddenly becomes good. Okay, well, immediately there's this diagonal. Is anything defending this square? No. So this will be mate. Okay. Uh, ooh, is this an under promotion trick? Do I knight check? Can't go here. He has to go. Yeah, he has to go here. So if we promote to knight check, only move. Check. Uh, here, here, or yeah, one of these two squares. It has to be that. There's no other checks. It didn't finish the checkmate though. Oh, God, that's why. I was looking for a mate pattern here with the pawn helping and the you know these pieces instead of just oh you take the queen. Oh, so if we take so I first looked at check and then he just takes and that's over. But we can remove the defender, take. If the queen takes back, check forks the king and queen. What? What? Oh, it wants me to promote. Well, that's just silly. It wants me to promote to knight to take it. Oh, because so I see. I see. So this is it looks silly, but it's actually important. So if you play knight check, king moves over, you take, king takes the pawn. It's king and two knights against king, and that's going to be a draw. Three knights, though, that's going to be a win. trying to see if there's anything wrong with h4 because that's what I expect to do is, obviously if I go up, he can just keep checking. I guess I could encroach in, but yeah, I could go up, check here, check here, and then he gets behind the pawn, and then I push the pawn. I guess that's not too bad. It doesn't feel like there should only be one answer here. If I go back, I don't know, you just like I don't know how to calculate it more. Like you wouldn't do that. Guess king back, rook. You can't push the pawn because then, well, I guess you could. You'd get behind it. I guess the worry is the rook sacking on the pawn if the king is close enough to force the rook out and it becomes a draw. We want this to be a win. No, I honestly don't know for this. So that didn't have any problem. Okay, I don't know why one worked and one doesn't, but take check, he moves in. You just let it. So if you move up to defend, he has to go back, you take. Right? No. That's surprising. I guess you could do that. But that'll win the race. The black pawn would win the race there because it's taking first. And check, take, take. You can go back. I, I don't know. Like that doesn't seem right. I should probably narrow these so I'm not getting. I'm just getting like 500 ones or over 2,000. Let's narrow the range from like 1,200 to 1,800. Okay, so the threat here is queening with check. Obviously, if we do like a nothing move, he can queen and just win a rook. We can't have that. So that means we can't take with the pawn. If we take with the pawn, queen, take, take, and they're just winning. So there's a few different checks, some better than others. Obviously, that's a terrible choice. We can take the knight with check. We can move down with check, or we could sack with check, which obviously also bad. Um, so just to entertain the thought, if we went to f3 check, king could move in and attack the rook. He'd move down and attack this rook on c1. It probably moves to c1 regardless. We go check. If he goes to c1, we have another check. Move down and we can check again. And we also check and go through and take. But if we go check, king c2, take, and we've protected these, but still there's check and take, and it seems like we need a better answer than that. Oh, that'll force him here actually, and then mate. Is that mate? Yeah. So check if he goes. Yeah, he's actually forced down. Yeah. Take check, king d2, rook d4 check, king e1, rook c1 mate. Hey, we figured it out. They're pretty intuitive moves without calculating it out, but we're able to at least see it ahead of time. So we push the pawn. And we've got that battery, so we'd probably have to bring that down, sack, and runs maybe a little bit out of steam at that point. Let's reverse the order and sack immediately. Check. Ooh, that has potential. Sack a rook. He takes. Yeah. Bring that across. There we go. He's got Luft, so just going back rank and trading off all the rooks, I don't think actually accomplishes anything. Um, that rook's hanging there. The threat is on the f3 square, so we got the queen and the knight on the f3 square. So if the knight checks, we're forced to lose the exchange. So I'm looking at, a pin that's not very forcing. That's sort of trying to see something more forcing. If we dislodge the queen, then we can just win the exchange. But, if we go there, then he's undefended there, so that doesn't work. Man, this definitely feels like one where there's an obvious answer I'm just not seeing. What if we just play it out? So we take the rook, check, take, and we're defending this. And then he takes, removing the defender. Do we get any? Do we end up with anything? So take, check, take. take. And then we just get out of there, I guess. Okay, I guess that's all he wants. I wasn't expecting that line, so now he's adding another attacker here. Check, take, check, I guess. So I'm looking if I block in the king here, threaten mate. If we check, we have a skewer here, so we force the king to stay by the bishop. What can he do if I move here? You move up. Just have a... Can't move there. Move. And then that's not forcing, and he can just get out. Trying to find what's forcing. So if I go here, he has to move his king over. No choice. Only move. And, oh, and then we can skewer. Check and take the bishop. All right. Let's see if we can translate this into a win. Or at least a well-played game is what we're aiming for. All right. D4 time. Queen's Gambit. Accepted. Okay, one of these. Play A4. Addressing that problem. I don't know why I did that. So I did this in another game. I should have just taken immediately. Oh, right. I never got to play it. That was a different order. That's why. Anyway, we can play this. If he wants to play, we can take, and his rook is pinned. The fact that he's hesitating suggests maybe he's going to do something weird, which he does. I can just play d4 here because take, and it's defended enough times. So he plays over. I can take. This king is pretty locked in. You can't move that e-pawn. Forces him out. You could potentially have something here. So if I want to be really aggressive, queen b3. Oh, I could sack it first. Sack the pawn. And then queen b3, threatening on 2 fronts. It's dangerous because he's a little active now with the, and I'm not castled. I want to do it though. sack a pawn. But sacking a pawn and then the queen takes, bishop e takes, develops knight. Actually, if the queen takes, so let me look at that again. Push, take, queen, and then there's no way to defend that. Push, take with queen, queen over, queen back, take. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it. And the question is, does he see one threat or both? Does he see this one? Does he see this one? Or does he see that it's a fork? Okay, so do we develop the knight or the bishop? Probably the bishop. So we're looking to bring all this threat in because there's no e-pawn here. He's also can't castle unless he castles queenside, which is pretty scary. Oh, okay, it's going this direction. Alas, our dream ends there, presumably. I get castled. If the queen moves, we still have a potential threat here. Like if he moves, say, queen to c7, try and open up. It's blocking himself in some more. Queen c2 puts it into a pin, so maybe don't want to do that, but I don't want to block here. This is awkward. And open up a discovery. Here, I'll just bring up the rook, probably. Though that would be an interesting threat. Maybe I can goad him with that. It brings a rook up, bring queen in here. I'm threatening check, queen, take. This is a bit clumsy one. My e-pawn gambit didn't really go anywhere. Ooh. Trying to see ways I can. Ooh. Rook d1, bishop, knight. queen over or something. No, he can't go there. Probably queen c7. Do I have, does that gain me anything? I'd really like it to gain me something. Bring knight over. This bishop take. Can't take with the queen, so he has to take with the f pawn. That's maybe a slight gain. Yeah. All right, let's just do that. I'd really like to be able to prevent him from castling. I don't think I have a way of doing it. Poke and prod. Oh, how did I not? Oh, right, it's defended. My brain sometimes just doesn't process things. Okay. Is there a way? We're threatening the pawn. If he goes back, we can move across, possibly. Okay. Oh, the fork. Right. That was this. If he takes, I take check, and then. So I have done it. I prevented him from castling, I do believe. But at what cost? The cost of a knight, actually, because this is going to be hanging at the end. He needs to take. I take with check. Um, Bishop back, and then I can't. I guess I bring my knight back here to prevent his escape square. Would probably be the best try. Now I'm threatening, actually he's threatening a fork of the king and queen. If he brings his rook down or something, or like, if he doesn't spot it. Okay, well this is still an option, right? Um, check, he moves up, check. That'll at least get him out of trouble. Let's go here. D8 or E7. E7 is obviously the most natural one. And then check. Okay. Now before I commit, saying that, yeah. Hmm. I check. Do I want to? Do you want to try and cause a perpetual? Yeah, I'd take it. I could check, and he moves away. You're here. Could check and trade off and take, and then queen check, and then back, and that's kind of not great. Yeah. Now I think I have to take. Presumably bishop. Oh, no, he doesn't do that. Ooh. Managed to turn this into being up a pawn with a better pawn structure and more time, shockingly. Oh, that's an interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay. Move over. Now, I'm going to guess he's going to move this pawn so that he can create that threat with a discovery. But if he does that, I can just take the pawn. So, oh, I see. Ah, I didn't see that. Oh, oh, I didn't see that. Looking for that action. That's actually just good. And there probably. Oh, he's looking for. I went for the center luft because this is a dark squared bishop. Oh, I didn't see that either. God, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, check. Now do I just... Yeah. Oh, well, that was stupid. I'm gonna win on time, so that's good. What a mess that was. I want to go see if that e6 idea had any merit, or if that was doomed from the start. I think it was doomed from the start. Okay, analysis. This is going to be a crazy graph. Oh, it's not picking up that. Let's see. What is it? 1v2. There we go. What was it suggesting there? A5. And it didn't like the capture. Yeah, no, it didn't like that. Oh, what was the right move here? Oh, check. Oh, I didn't. I looked for queen for the queen check, but I didn't process that. That would have been better. And then once over here, where was my best move? Knight h5. I chose the best moves given. It was just after that mistake. Okay. So you got the knight out, push this up, kick him out. So we'll kick him out first. Why did I? Uh, we're playing way from behind immediately because I'm an idiot. Let's start a new one. Benoni it is. Fianchetto Benoni feels like it's just asking for trouble. Hmm. Here. Here, let's bait him. Can't castle or he loses his pawn. Presumably he's gonna come down. It's the only move that makes any sense. We'll develop or capture. And develop, push up, and develop castle, push the F pawn. Okay. If take, check. Right, that's unfortunately I don't have a good square to go to. I guess I can go here, but then I'm blocking that F pawn. So I'd have to go all the way back to here, which is annoying. I can't keep the threat on that. So just stay here just to prevent that take from breaking the pawn structure. Actually, I guess I could have been there too. Now I can threaten the rook. You can actually castle in that position, but you'd be hanging the bishop. I don't see a good move. Also looking at this threat. Oh, that actually is a good move. I didn't see that. So check, take, take. Just wins a pawn. Starts destroying the pawn structure. I can take with the knight. Threaten the rook. Also threaten f7. I can go back. You have to watch out for the discoveries, but he doesn't really have a good place to go. If I go back, they can develop back. And then we're in a sort of drawn position. Because I can't. It goes back. It goes back, and I don't think there's a way to not repeat because I can't defend this knight otherwise. Oh, he decided to take. I can take, and take the pawn. I could also move up and threaten the rook. Would then have to move back or have the king move over. But if the king moves over, take is a problem. The queen. Back. And we still have the option of I can move in, move across, move up. It's back, take. If it takes with rook, take that pawn or check. Probably take the pawn. Now, do I check and force him onto this diagonal, or do I just take the pawn? I think I just take the pawn. I can't castle actually right now because actually yeah I could. I could take the I have the queen, so I could take the bishop. Yeah, so here, queen here, and that's fine. And we castle. We have that coming. Yeah, that'll be really strong now. He doesn't move his queen, or he doesn't move the bishop onto the this diagonal here. So this will attack the queen as well as threaten forking the king, and rook also threaten taking. Oh, I didn't even realize that was undefended. Huh. Okay. A couple things I could do. I could move over and just attack the rook. And there's not really anything you can do there. I can move the rook up and block the check because it's defended by the knight. But let's just move over. There's actually two threats here. Okay, so if we go, wait, if we go check, move over, then I can just take the rook. If I go check and he moves here, um, I can check and take the rook. Well, no, if no, I can't check there. Never mind. But he goes here, I can check and take the rook. Yeah, I can remove the defender here if he moves here or here. If he moves over here, I can check and get out of it. Actually, the only move he can do is here. He actually can't move onto e7. So yeah, he's forced to. And I win the exchange. Okay, now I have to move the queen again. Unfortunately, I can't do it with tempo. But I can pin the bishop. Well, no, that would lose the queen because check. So let's play a little defensively, cover this square. Threaten check, threaten taking the pawn. Okay, how do we bring this rook into the game? Check would force the king back. One of these squares. Let's just do that. Whoa, what? Why? Pin the bishop. What? So he just really wants to play this. So let's calculate it out. Take, check. The problem is like that infiltration, so I have to move up to here, and he's going to go check, and then I move the pawn, and is out of moves. Check. Get this rook into the game. Bring it up, block his escape. That'd be the most annoying rest of this game. Uh, the queen moves, and I can take on c5 with check, and that's the tempo that I need to gain. Back. I can go check, move over, and that's mate. Check, if he moves back, then that's mate. So I think this is the right move. Oh, fuck. Oh, right. No, no. For a second there, I thought that was hanging, but it's pinned, so it's fine. Yeah. Too many tactics running through my head. All right. And analysis board. How are we doing here? Oh, that's looking a pretty good chart. That up and down isn't ideal, but those queen moves were considered ideal. Oh, bring in the knight now. Yeah, so this is where it should have been a draw. Right, right, right. As I said, back, so this position, queen's threatened, queen has to move. Um, there's only four legal squares that also protect the knight. So, um, that's to G7, to G6, to F5, and to F4. As you can see, three of those are really terrible choices. There's only one decent move, and that's to Queen F5, which threatens the rook. So to defend the rook, knight moves to F8, which also threatens the queen, the bishop. Now the queen needs to move and protect this knight. Again, there's one, two, three, four legal moves uh, that also protect the knight. And once again, one, two, and three of them, all very bad. So you have to go back. And that should have been a repeat, but you decided to play on in a worse position. So I didn't want to. I was worried about not really getting any value out of chasing the king away like this. Saying that's the. But then you just take with check. So like, what was it saying is the best move here? Queen H7, so threatening the pawn and the rook. Well, the rook's defended by the pawn. So yeah, I guess there's some clumsiness. But that's what I was thinking. I didn't. Looking at the check, I thought I was just moving him over to more safety, whereas with this attack through the diagonal, this king isn't looking great. Oh yeah, I should have just castled to defend that, and then but I didn't realize that was undefended. Wasn't paying enough attention. Huh. So at Queen F6. That's hard to answer. That is hard to answer. King D7 only move. Queen takes F7. Queen takes G6 check, and oh yeah, could have just taken that right then. Oh, to the back rank. Oh man, I am just not seeing the tactics today. Fortunately, though, from this position, I did see the right combination. Oh, both rook takes and this is also mate in one. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh. Uh, it's also interesting seeing the anxiety portion sort of morph. The anxiety is more focused on like um, sort of a like low lying underlying thing. Um, uh, but you get past that, and there's still sort of undealt with frustration, self-esteem things in terms of quality of play. So that interaction is one that's tricky as opposed to just like, okay, you're anxious to start a game to start the minute it goes down, which is sort of true, but then there are other aspects that sort of seep into it. But the results weren't too bad today, despite not feeling like it was on point at all. But I think I'll leave it at that just for today.